It's a bad joke. I, that's my sense of humor, like knock jokes.
It's better than jokes they come here at from midnight coming out.
I couldn't even understand that.
Like the bad point, yeah.
These are my professional.
Oh, I love you all.
Yes, they're awesome.
I just say,
Good morning.
now the 46 are my
I just see that again.
They're my favorite.
Are they?
Tracy.
If I yell that across the table.
Well, those are yours. Very much. No, go ahead. It's on my computer.
Might be like. Might be.
Good morning.
Hey,
Morning, Ted.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Good morning. Happy weekend. Okay. Yeah, that's what I would ask you. Kind of get my- You know,
Are you set up or are you?
Yeah, been right out.
I'm set up, I'm not playing with it today.
That's what you're at.
Good for you.
Yeah. Just go to? Yeah.
Okay.
Or Jason.
Yeah.
Yours, they have, your machine set up.
I just got it.
I mean, so it's just Mary going down there and it'll take a half hour, your time.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
it's got a lot of potential. Actually, what you can ask.
I'm pretty sure I said. I'll run and give it. But you said- I didn't know what that.
So hopefully we don't. I think.
Oh, I am on.
The publisher.
Good morning.
Well, I don't know.
You know, I take that.
That's all. Regarding a couple of issues in the city right now, I to go to the media. Grateful that.
You know that, but yeah, sometimes that's That's. Which is good. That's not. We start to see that really. If you go to folders. Is that a byproduct of the white? Okay. This would be all the different committees. Are you okay? Yeah, they would have on this. So they gotta work on. Generally, I got the only kind of committee on giving access to it. But it's,
Little guy.
So you're welcome. Better.
What night call for? Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so you're right.
All the United County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. There'll be a brief moment of silence for our troops, law enforcement officers, and emergency responders, followed by a prayer invocation and a pledge of allegiance. Is there a supervisor who would like to do a prayer today? Debbie, is your hand?
Oh, sure.
I'll have Debbie do it.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to be here together, serving our county. I ask for your Holy Spirit to fill this room and each one of our hearts, give us the wisdom to make the right decisions that would be best for Oneida County. We love you, amen.
I would like to do the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, clerk will call a roll.
Showalter. Absent. Candace,
Here.
Newman. Here. Schreier,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Condado. Here. Briggs,
Here.
Ottinger,
Here.
Harris. Here. Winkler,
Good morning, Tracy.
good morning. Jensen,
Here on Let's Laugh Day. National Let's Laugh Day.
It's also the first day of spring day. That's a whole lot more important than Let's Laugh.
Rio is absent. Sorgel. Here. Roach is absent. Timmons,
Good morning here.
good morning. Freed,
Good morning.
good morning. Bryden,
Good morning.
good morning. Olmekender,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Cushing,
Here.
Palawinski.
Here.
We have 18 present and 3 absent.
Okay, we have a quorum to conduct business today. Item 3, everybody use your microphones when speaking, make sure they're turned on. Item number 4, accept the minutes of the February 20th, 2024 meeting.
Move approval.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any questions or changes to the minutes?
I have one.
Go ahead, Joe.
On, call to order, the last word prayer was offered by Supervisor Roach, not Winkler.
Any other corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify aye with the change. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item number 5, reports, human service structure report, Mary Rydell.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You do not have an update, from me in your packet. I will email that out to you. For February, March, basically, our stakeholders group, which is our group of, stakeholders from the 3 counties and our tribal partners, has continued to meet, through these months, and we met again, in February and March. The directives of social services and the human service center also, started meeting monthly. So we did that both in February and March, as well as meeting with our management team, from the 4 organizations. So, we did reinitiate those meetings and those have been going on monthly. At the end of the, feasibility study, there was an additional stakeholders meeting that was done virtually. And the 3 directors of social services and the human service center, director were available on that meeting as well. The Tri-County Transition Oversight Committee had their second meeting on March 12th. Their agenda included updates on the feasibility study, a discussion with the Human Service Center Board, a review of some information received from the Human Service Center, and an update on social services potentially contracting case management services with the Human Service Center. And then on March 6th, as you all know, the feasibility study was completed and released to all county boards and the Human Service Center Board, and we'll talk about that more today. And I would suggest that going forward that the monthly updates can be done by the County Transition Oversight Panel, and you don't need 2 updates for me as well. So I would suggest going forward, you just get your updates from the Oversight Panel. Any questions?
Any questions? For Mary?
I have a question, but it's kind of related maybe to the transition as well, but I'll put it out there and maybe Tyler wants to chime in or maybe you do, Mary, but like a facility. how can I be assured that the surpluses in their accounts are gonna be responsibly used or there during this transition? One of the issues that came up at facilities this morning was Koinonia and its maintenance of that. So is that being integrated in some of these talks, and what can you say to
It is,
reassure
that
us?
has already been forwarded to the Transition Oversight Committee to discuss that. So that communication between the Human Service Center Board and the Oversight Panel seems to be going very well.
Any other questions for Mary? All right, thanks, Mary. Now we'll do a report from the Transition Oversight Panel. Tyler?
Good morning. I'll get my name on here. Yeah, Mary hit on it. The oversight panel has had a couple meetings. We've chosen to, meet at the Human Service Center, conduct our meetings there. It's been expressed to us, with staff, some open dialogue, and we thought, it would be much easier for them to be in the know of what's happening if we do that there. They're in the know right now. And I can respect that. But right now, we're in the process of gathering information from the Human Service Center. And until the county boards vote, it's really hard for us to go in a direction because we don't know what directions the county wants us to go into right now. Hopefully we can move forward with that. We have an additional meeting the 26th of this month. We agreed to have meetings the second Wednesday of every month, but we hopefully have some more direction from the county boards so we can make some decisions on the 26th. Billy, you brought a question to Mary regarding some facilities. That was brought to my attention very recently. That is going to be one of the topics on the 26th. My feelings on that is the county or Oneida County or the counties should not be getting a facility that's in disarray. And it should not be a burden on Oneida County or any of the counties to give buildings to where it should be, like our facilities that we work in here up to par. So we'll with input from Darcy and Tina, we'll go through the financials and see where some funding can come.
Any questions for Tyler? Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I sit on the administration committee for the HSC. My understanding is when this was brought up at the last meeting of that body, those funds that had originally not been designated and budgeted were now going to be capped because they do have money in a buildings and grounds fund that can be used for that particular purpose for Koinonia. And I believe that approval was made to go to their board this week to more or less release those funds to be used for buildings and grounds. So just so that's understood by everybody here, even though they did not budget it, they recognize that there is funds there that they do have and that they have actively addressed the issue moving forward. But until their board approves it this week, that's where it's at, just so everyone knows that and is aware of that.
Okay, any other questions for Tyler? Carry on, thanks, Tyler. Next one is a broadband report. John Sweeney will do an update on that.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'll keep this very brief. The progress has been steady, which is what the county board wants to hear. We've been working on this for more than 2 years as a board, and as your representative, we've actually ordered some supplies, which is a good sign. 2 of the towers one of them has met all of the permitting. The landfill solid waste. Yesterday, we got the actual written, decision from Board of Adjustment. You're gonna, on your consent agenda today is the Burrows Lake Tower site. Paul Feeney had asked that we find a site that was suitable for the county forest. We found a site that meets those, what Paul wanted. We are in the progress right now, working through the issues with the other 4 tower sites. That's going fairly well. The Bug Tussle is very close to announcing that they have a vendor to install the actual fiber. It would be premature for me to talk about that today, but we're very close. And I think as the board recognizes, the last time you did an RFP on that, the pricing, there's a lot of work out there. So these companies are able to keep the price up pretty good. Bug Tussle, of course, also put that out in a competitive type of purchase. Their purchasing department is pretty good at that. And I hope to report to you next month. We did select a vendor and we're moving forward with that. So with that, I would be available to answer any questions anyone would have.
Any questions for John?
John, is Bug Tussle required, like we are when we put out bids, to make sure that, one, we're getting the best bid at the best cost? I realize that we're funding this through bonding and not directly with taxpayer dollars, but at the same time, we did sign more or less, ensuring that bonding. So is there any requirements for Bug Tussle to do that, or?
I'm not aware of any.
Not aware.
I'm not aware of anything that would have been written into our attorney is here today. They're a private company. I'll use an example, on the low type of purchasing, their professional services that they're using are so far, in my experience, the professional services that I've needed are very good. And I don't know that they would be low. I'm not sure that that would have been a low proposal from Bug Tussle. I think it's a proposal that they have of a company that they use routinely and regularly, that does good engineering work. The things that they promised the county were actually returned on a day early. We did some site work on a Thursday and we had preliminary maps and preliminary engineering information available back to us Monday afternoon. Which is, in my experience, very good. We were able to have that in a timely fashion and keep, our project on time. And when I say on time, I want to get a bunch of this work done before, normally I would tell you in this room, we would have a winter. Right? There's no winter, not too much of a winter yet, but I would assume we'd have winter next fall sometime. We'd have a good old fashioned Wisconsin winter that would shut down some of these construction crews. I want to get ahead of it. So does Bug Tussle. Bug Tussle also, it's in their interest to do that. So the faster we can turn around these tower sites, get our engineering material back. The company that they've preliminarily selected for some of this boring work and directional boring is very, very good. I don't know that they are low, but I do know that it's a name that would be easily recognized by anybody in that industry as a very good firm. So.
Any other questions?
I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you have a final design of where all the fiber is going now, or last I think it's kind of preliminary, there's some changes?
Yeah.
I haven't seen a recent one.
Everything is solid on that map,
Okay.
published on the internet. We've been careful to not if we were to make any significant changes to that, my specific direction to Buck Tussle is that we come back to our board who made the policy decision on that map. The one significant change we made that saved the county some pretty serious money was moving they had had a site selected on McCord Road, town of Little Rice, near the town of Lynn. That would have cost the county $400,000 to run electric to it. That's not gonna work, not with not with the established budget we have for construction of 6 point-to-point towers. So those are examples where early on, I told the committee, I told the county board that that map didn't work for tower sites. That's why we moved that from McCord Road to Burrows Lake Road. I met with the town chairman in Little Rice a couple of times. I met with the town road crew. I eliminated some sites that might have been possible on town property in the general vicinity of the town hall. Paul Feeney found a suitable location on the forest. That's been the only, what I call material or significant change that we've made. But if we were gonna go start jogging or moving that map around, I would insist that we get our county board to be aware of that and approve that as a change in policy.
Mike, can you comment on Stephen's question about low bid versus Buck Tussle?
So the county board guaranteed the bond, but insofar as requiring them to follow bidding requirement, they're not required to follow public bidding requirements. The county board did guarantee the $24 million bond, but they're not, and while it is a public-private partnership in a way, they're not subject to the same rules as the county.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Just as a follow-up, I think, like most of us here, we want to always believe that regardless of whether we're spending our county tax dollars, monies we get in from other entities, or even monies that we're just co-signing for, that we're getting the most bang for a buck. We want to see as much fiber in the ground as we can. And that's really the reason I brought that up, was I would like to think that they have that same perspective or belief that the more area they can cover and the more service they can deliver, the better off it is for them. But I'm also concerned that as competitive as it is right now to get people to even bid, to do the boring, do that we may be paying a premium right now to get that service and get that going. And that means we may have to rethink where is fiber going and what will the scope of the plan be. But it sounds like if there is a significant change as a result of that, we'll be made aware of it. So the public will be made aware.
The answer to that is, from my perspective, yes.
Russ, you had a question?
As we start applying for our PSC grants and all that, the lights could waive a little bit too also, as if we would get awarded them.
So, say your question again.
As we start applying for the PSC grants, and if we get them awarded, would the lines change a little bit? I mean, not the lines, but we could get more fiber optic in the ground, correct?
No, the next round of grant is the federal B grant. We have not been given the maps for that. The fiber background or fiber backbone that you've approved is not going to change. What the B grants will do is allow us to run spurs off of that fiber backbone to the end use resident. That's why this B grant is so important. It's additive. But as John mentioned, we have pretty much locked in the backbone. The next step is end of mile, which is the final hookups to customers. And that's what we're going for with the B grants. And also I would just say, question, Mr. Schreier, your question. And one of the things that John and I are doing is constantly monitoring what other counties are doing in terms of their bid process. So we know we're competitive, and because we have such a large project approved, we are going to be in a good position to be very, very competitive with these fiber runs. And just we'll talk about that hopefully next month.
Yeah, and if there's been a supplier that hasn't done a good job, which I'm aware of. I've made sure I've let Buck Tussle know that. The supplier of services or performance of services, or getting, sloppy work done. Improper safety plan. All those things that are important to a job site. You've got people coming and going. Sometimes they're creating traffic hazards. They need an acceptable safety plan. Those are all things that are important when you select that vendor. Those are things that we know. We know who that company is. We know what their record is for getting the work done. Versus a magnetic sticker on the side of a truck with Oklahoma license plates. Unknown subcontractor shows up at a job site, unknown, those are things that that's not what we're looking for on one of our job sites in Oneida County.
John's eyes and ears out there for the county board, so if you have questions like that, you can call him direct and find out what's going on, but he's looking out for us. Is there any more questions for John? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, and John did somewhat clarify, the forestry department did request a tower be put on the county forest. We found an alternate to the McCord Road site, which in their conceptual map, they had put a tower on McCord Road right in the center of the county forest, but then when they found out it was gonna be 400,000 plus to run the power and fiber there, I talked with John and it's like, well, I think I've got a pretty good alternative. And so I just wanted to let you know that we didn't request a tower to be put on the house.
Nice. Any other questions for John? All right, thanks, John. Okay, register deeds annual report, Kyle Franson.
Good morning. I believe Tracy included a copy of my activity report in your packet of information. I'm not gonna go through everything, but I did want to just review some of the data and revenue numbers of 2023. If you have any questions at any point in time, please don't hesitate to ask, whether it's during that specific topic or at the end. But if we start off page one, pretty self-explanatory. I would like to thank though my staff for the great work that they do in my office. And I'd also like to thank the Land Records Committee for their support, ongoing support of my office for this past year and previous years. Page two is the statutory fees. Of all the revenues that we do collect, everything is based on statute. Recording fees, transfer return fees, copy fees, and vital record fees. You can see that of every dollar that we collect, it's either earmarked for county to be retaining that fee, portion of that, or it's being sent to the state. If you look at page three of the revenues, if you look at 2023, the total revenue for 2023 was a little over 1.58 million. That's a little bit light compared to 22 and 21. Of that 1.5 plus million, we had to send a little over 1 million back to the state due to the portion that we had to get back to them. So the county retained a little over 567,000. Of that, $72,360 is retained in a land records account for land records modernization per statute. So the net revenue to the county, 494,000 this past year. My budget was set at 476,000. Transfer fees were up 32,000, so that was a help. My other fees were down a little bit, but at the end of the day, it was $18,000 net revenue to the county, so about 4% increase over budget what was made. You can tell that compared to 22 and 21, it was a little bit light, but again, I'm not surprised by those numbers. As we all know, 22 and 21 were pretty good bump years for at least my office and for the county with regards to real estate. Page 4, that is simply the statistical data, monthly data that we use to generate the report on page 3. Are there any questions, comments, concerns regarding the annual report?
Any questions for Kyle? All right, thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
We'll go on to medical exam or annual report. Crystal?
That's what Kyle did for, oh, sorry.
A little concerned.
Perfect. Thank you. As with Kyle's report, you have the copies in your packets. I'm not gonna go through every little exact detail that we do, but I do want to point out a couple of things. On the first page, the second paragraph, it gives you a total for all 3 counties that we did. So you can see those numbers all in a whole. And then the remainder of page 1, page 2, and page 3 is a breakdown of each individual counties. Now, we put everything that was significant to our investigation, including natural deaths, we broke those up. And then everything that was not natural, those are each have their own individual classification. So that just gives you an idea of the kind of deaths that we do investigate outside of the norm. The next page is the totals for all 3 counties broken down individually for 2023. The next page, which was presented to you folks last year, is the 2022 numbers. And then the last 3 pages, this gives you, it's just another way of telling you the differences in the deaths that we investigated, comparable 22 to 23. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Crystal? Very good. Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we're gonna open up public comment time, maximum of 3 minutes. State your name and address when you come to the podium. We'll start here on my left side. Anybody in the front row? Okay, next row.
Morning, everybody. My name is Joe Steinhag, and I live at 7213 North Shore Drive in the town of Newbold. My purpose of being here is to address the Conservation Committee's resolution number 12-2024 on enhanced wakes. And I want to make 3 points. The first point is this: if I understand correctly, the current final resolution supports a minimum distance of 500 feet from shore and a minimum depth of 20 feet. I believe those numbers should be considered absolute minimums. Some research studies are even leaning toward minimums of 700 feet and 30 feet respectively for adequate lake protection. Boats are becoming even larger and more powerful with time. But for sure, the minimums of 300 feet and 15 feet are altogether unacceptable. My second point is this: scientific and empirical studies conducted around the country are irrefutable and are not based on opinions. The 2023 bill brought forth by our state legislators was entirely inadequate and it did not address a number of critical concerns, not the least of which is the harmful transport of AIS from lake to lake from ballast systems. By their own admission, the legislators agree that bill is a starting point for greater in-depth discussion to revise or create a new bill to satisfy all concerns as best as possible. My third point is this: although counties have no control over inland lakes, our state legislators will undoubtedly look to the counties for recommendations. While this CUW resolution is only advisory, it is incumbent upon all county boards to provide the best advice and factual information for the good of all lake users and other citizens that care about our environment. Thank you for your work on this resolution and allowing me to address the board today. Thank you.
Anybody else in the second row? Come to the front.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name's Ted Ralsey, 8854 Art Thompson Road in the town of Cashin. And I'm here representing myself and also the United County Lakes and Rivers Association, of which I'm president. I would echo much of what Joe just had to say. And I think the really important part about wanting to keep the 500 feet from shore and 20-foot depth of water is important, because what happens if Oneida County, one of the lake richest counties in the state, would opt for resolution supporting lesser limits? As Joe mentioned, the legislation that was kicked around in this year in the state would have had a minimum distance from shore of 200 feet, which is totally inadequate. But what if we say 315 feet, and the legislature says, well, Oneida County supported this, what's good for a lake rich county like Oneida, it must be good for the rest of the state. So I would strongly suggest that if we're interested in protecting our lakes, which I know we are, I would encourage you to adopt the resolution as written with the 500 feet from shore and 20-foot water depth. Thank you.
Next. Well, good morning, Jeffrey Order, Oneida County Economic Development Director. Very brief comments, not necessarily on the science, I'll let others talk to that, but one of the things that you guys need to be aware of. So Oneida County lakes are our most important economic driver. Yet we often forget just how fragile our lakes are. Most recently, Oneida County Tourism generated $362 million annually in revenue for our county and local businesses, all the while delivering $22 million in state and local taxes. We have 12% of all employment in Oneida County coming from tourism, 22 million in annual tax revenue, which would be equivalent to 35% of the total Oneida County budget. Think about that for a second. Tourism is what drives Oneida County, and our quality lakes drive our tourism. Now let others talk about the science. Thank you.
Anybody else in the second row?
Tom Ledoux, 3974 Camper Avenue Road, town of Stella. I too support the resolution as written. As a minimum, it's up to all of us in the county to protect our valuable water resource. And this is one of those things we can do to have our voice heard in the state. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Anybody else in the second row? Go to the third row, anybody, public comment in the third row? Anybody in the fourth row?
Good morning, thank you for the opportunity to provide public comment. My name is Tamara Feast, I'm the Executive Director of the Human Service Center. As you consider Resolution 41-224 to authorize implementation planning for the reorganization of the Department of Community Programs and Social Services into a consolidated Department of Human Services, I urge you to prioritize staffing of this new department. Throughout this process, it has often been mentioned that clients are the priority. Also, throughout this process, it has been stated that a new structure will need existing HSC staff. The Human Service Center has lost a third of its workforce due to uncertainty. Consistently losing staff makes the job of taking care of clients increasingly difficult. If months continue to go by, leaving staff at the Human Service Center uncertain of future employment, compensation, and even office locations, we will undoubtedly lose more staff. The answers need to come now, not months from now. If taking care of clients is truly a priority, the answer is quite simple. Take care of the staff at the Human Service Center and the clients will be taken care of. Thank you.
Anybody in the fourth row? Public comment, anybody else? The next row back, anybody public comment? Anybody in the back of the room on the left side?
Ann Hegland, 8497 Shady Rest Road, town of Woodboro. I am in support of what Joe and Ted had to say about wakeboards. The resolution as proposed, I think it doesn't go far enough. I think it should be 700 feet and 30 feet. I've been on Manson Lake for 62 years, and we have a huge invasive species issues with Eurasian milk whale. Wake boats aren't able to empty their ballasts and therefore carry that milk whale to other lakes, and that is a huge issue. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Anybody on the right side? Front row, public comment?
Good morning, Dan Butkus, live at 301 East Main Street, Montague, Wisconsin, my own property at 7010 Long Lake Road in the town of Crescent. I am treasurer of the Squash Lake Protection Rehabilitation District, an elected position. I am also president of Wisconsin Lakes. I have two topics I would like to discuss today. The first one, I'm going to do that as in my capacity as president of Wisconsin Lakes and as a property owner, both. Resolution 12, wake boats, wake sports, enhanced wakes, excessive wakes, whatever you want to call it. Everyone else has talked about the depth and distance. That's the science. I'm talking about whether or not you believe, trust, and have confidence in your own employees. Michelle Sadowskis was tasked with doing more research, coming back to this board. Her research into the literature has been reflected in that resolution. Or you can have confidence in Mr. Wright, who has his nose buried in his cell phone, who claims everyone monopoly supports 320. Well, it turns out his everyone is Chad Baker, a guy who teaches wake sports. So, do you have confidence in Michelle Sadowskis or confidence in the supervisor who's exiting this week or this month? Secondly, resolution 3824, 2024. Mr. Holwinsky, this is your on-board letter to your holiday letter. That letter, the holiday letter, I like holiday, was on plain paper over your title representing the board, and it never passed through the board. I find that interesting. This time, you're passing it through the forestry service, or forestry committee. Mr. Heaney went through that letter, could not reconcile it with the forestry land use plan. Struck nearly 2/3 of that letter. In that forestry committee meeting, Colette Sorrell said, let's send it all to the county board and let them sort it out. Really, I thought that's what the committee was supposed to do. So what you have is a half-baked letter coming to you of a source unknown to you. You didn't write that, Mr. Holwinsky. Those are not your words. Those came from someone else. I'd like to know where. So, my theme today, do you have confidence? Do you have confidence in Mr. Heaney, who knows what he's talking about? Or do you have confidence in a politician sitting here at this table? I'll tell you this, I have absolute confidence in the employees of this county. Sorry, absolute confidence. Thank you. I know 30 seconds. I don't have confidence in many who sit on this board. Thank you. Have a good day.
Hey, anybody else on my right-hand side on the front row, second row?
Good morning. My name is Mary Sawinski and I live at 6720 Railroad Street in Three Lakes. I'm here to introduce myself to those of you who I may not yet have had the opportunity to meet. I'm running for circuit court judge on the April 2nd ballot. I grew up on a farm in Sugar Camp and worked my way through high school in Three Lakes and then my undergraduate degree at the University of Wisconsin-Madison before heading to law school. After finishing law school early, I immediately began working as a criminal prosecutor. I've now been a lawyer for over 25 years. I've been a prosecutor for over 20 years. And I've worked as an assistant district attorney in Oneida County for almost 8 years. In addition to that, I've worked as an assistant corporation counsel and also owned and operated my own legal practice here in Oneida County. In fact, in an office in Three Lakes where I live with my husband. We've also been very involved in community activities in the Three Lakes and Sugar Camp area. In addition to that, I've held leadership positions in my local bar association, as well as at the state level in the State Bar Association. Having said all of that, I will tell you that I've handled virtually every kind of case that's going to come before a circuit court. And I've also been trained as a mediator and been appointed by other judges to represent the needs of disabled adults and children in court proceedings. I have the demeanor and the experience to apply the law as written to the facts of every case that comes before me, impartially and fairly, and with absolute independence. And I look forward to meeting those of you on the board and citizens who I've not yet had an opportunity to meet. Please reach out to me if you'd like to meet individually or have any questions at all that I could answer about my background and experience. And I would be honored by all of your votes on April 2nd. Thank you very much.
Anybody else on my right-hand side, second row? Okay, third row, anybody?
Good morning. My name is Carl Fate. I live at 6824 US Highway 8 in the town of Crescent. I live at Spur Lake. I'm going to talk about wake boats to begin with. It is impossible to overstate the importance of our lakes to Oneida County. We cannot afford to allow the continued degradation of these precious resources. Our lakes are complex, vibrant, natural ecosystems that are full of structure and submergent vegetation. Our lakes are facing the long-term threat of the overdevelopment of our shorelines. Wake boats pose a particular threat to our lakes because they disrupt vertically and horizontally these living ecosystems that are full of structure and submergent vegetation. Damage can be done to our lakes very quickly from this new threat. How will the damage be fixed and who will be held accountable? I also want to briefly comment on resolution number 38, 2024. I've been to a lot of county board meetings, and that's one of the weirdest resolutions that I've ever seen come before the county board. And it seems to me that it is most likely a strange kind of reaction to the Pelican River Forest, which I think some people are rather bitter about. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anybody else in the second row?
Eric Rampala, 4212 property owner, 4212 Lakewood Road, and content editor for Oneida County Clean Waters Action. I'd like to address resolution 38, 2024. Some of you already heard my opinion from the Forestry Committee, and I'd like to share it with the rest of the board. The resolution on the overall forest, when you look at it, kind of looks rather innocuous, right? And when you read the language, it kind of sounds like, well, it kind of makes sense. I mean, there's some common sense in there, But I think there's more to that resolution, unfortunately. And my question becomes, where does that letter come from? Where does that language come from? For all that language that Mr. Feeney struck out, and you saw the final version, actually you saw the whole version and the final version. I asked myself, since Oneida County has only less than 2% of federal forest land, why is this even coming up at the county board level? Are we considered about the 1.5%? I mean, this is a statement of national forests across the country. So, I kind of asked that question. And then I asked, and I had mentioned before at the previous meeting, some of the language that we've seen is, in my opinion, American Stewards for Liberty, a group. And that's a group that Mr. Tiffany introduced to Forest County at a meeting I attended. And they have questionable motives and tactics that I'd like you all to consider. This, I would not rubber stamp this. There's much more to this resolution as it goes deeper. I suspect it's a chance to put a foothold and to go further with this ASL group's agenda. ASL is from Texas. In Texas, they have 4% recreational public owned land. We are not Texas. Y'all, we are not Texas up here. That plan, the privatization of public lands to better serve corporate oil, in Texas cases, oil and gas.
Okay, Eric,
Cattle ranchers
you're done.
and mining. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Next roll, anybody? Second roll, all done.
Good morning. I'm Kathleen Cooper and I live at 4820 Riverbend Road in Pelican Township. And thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. I just want to briefly touch on the difference between fact and opinion. In resolution 12/2024, the Wakeful resolution, the 500 feet from shore, the 20 feet depth, the invasive species, those are based on fact. If you change it, it'll be based on your opinion of what you want. It's just like, oh, somebody's had too much to drink and they decide that they want to go out driving because they think they can handle it. Well, that's their opinion, but it's not truly a fact that they get caught and they're above the legal limit. Same with this. There's going to be consequences if you start going against the facts. Our lakes will be ruined. Same thing with the resolution 38/2024, the old growth forest. That pertains to old growth forest. It's a fact that old growth forest, growth trees are a vital part of the ecosystem. If you start cutting them down or, whatever you want to do with them, you turn our forests into like tree farms, with a loss of species, a loss of habitat, loss of regeneration of the soil. The facts are old growth forests are very valuable. And we only have like 1% of the forests in old growth, or 1% or less that are old growth. So I'm not getting why this is such a big deal to you guys, to be able to be free to do what you want with the old growth forest. And again, this is, your opinion, it is not fact. And the fact that this letter and this resolution seem to have come from some outside influences who are coming to Oneida County, having clandestine meetings with our county board representatives that aren't on the record, that haven't been vetted through committee, and that letters have already been written with the names of county board officials that weren't a part of any county board meetings or agenda or anything like that. So please know the difference between fact and opinions. When you're going by the opinions or what you want, there will be consequences. If you go by science, then you're covered. You're covered and you're taking the best care of our water resources and our forest resources. And thank you for your time.
Anybody else in the third row?
Ryan Simmons, 3076 Wausau Road, Crescent. Just wanted to just say that, you know, there's been some opinions and people have their opinions on the weight program. But I think the Journal of Water Resource Protection wrote a great article by a renowned engineer, Mr. Bay. I am a huge outdoorsman, fisherman, sport, keeping our lakes and outdoors safe and vibrant, but there's also scientific research out there that supports the fact that it does not have to be at 500. The water erosion, the dissipation of weights between 200 and 500 is almost nothing by the energy that they have. So I just ask that you keep that in mind, and also the economic impact that it could have on my account.
Okay, next row, anybody in that third row left? Okay, the fourth row, anybody, public comments? Anybody? Back row, anybody on my right side?
Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak. I am Donna Stone and I live on 2976 Wausau Road, on Crescent Lake. And I am the president of the Crescent Lake Association and would like to read one of the, emails that I got from one of our members. The question to be asked and answered is, do we want to truly protect the lakes in Oneida County, or just give lip service and take positions that make it appear that something is being done? The 100-foot and 15-foot suggestion is lip service, or the 300-foot and 15-foot is lip service and will not protect lakes in the county. In fact, the 520-foot suggestion will not provide the relief and protection the lakes need to reduce the damage to the lakes caused by wake boats and similar watercraft. If you are truly interested in protecting the lakes from the damage done by these watercraft, a minimum of 825 feet should be implemented. If you do not live on a lake, you won't realize the ongoing damage done to a lake's total ecology. Now is the time to take a proactive approach to protecting the lakes. Lip service is not acceptable and won't protect the lakes. I am not anti-wake boats. However, I am pro lakes. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else on my right hand side that hasn't spoken yet? Anybody? Okay, we will move on to the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any resolution somebody wants to pull? And carry none, clerk will call the roll.
Schultz,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Madado. Aye. Cannon,
Aye.
Winkler,
Aye.
Roach,
Aye.
Ryden,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Almakinder,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Simmons,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Showalter is absent, Newman. Aye. Zorgel,
Aye.
Ottinger,
Aye.
Harris. Aye. Fisher,
Aye.
Kowinski,
Aye.
19 aye, 2 absent.
19 aye, 2 absent, the consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to number 8, amended resolution 12, 2024, offered by the supervisors of the Conservation UW Extension Education Committee on enhanced weight regulations. Jim Winkler?
Yes, our committee reviewed the
the, resolution as is presented. We've had a lot of discussion on it, on footage depth and width, back and forth. We've come up with what we've, suggested at, minimum of 20 feet in depth and, 500 feet across the, width from the shoreline. That is our final recommendation, and that's based on research. We've poured over a bit of research. I've read a lot of stuff, and a lot of our committee members have read a lot of things. And I'm going to turn it over to Michelle. She might have some further comments to make.
Morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Duskis, and I am the Oneida County Conservationist. And my chair, Jim Winkler, asked me to be here today to answer any questions that may arise, and maybe give a little bit of backdrop for today's discussion. If it's okay to say just a few words?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect, thank you. Each of Wisconsin's 72 counties are required to have a 10-year land and water resource management plan. Our 2020 plan was created by our Land and Water Conservation Department with an advisory group of about 20 individuals. The plan was approved by our Conservation Committee, a county board, and also the state of Wisconsin. In fact, in October, we just went in for a 5-year plan review and a process with the state. We had 2 thumbs up. We were approved to go forward for the next 6 years. We were the lucky ones to get to go a little early for our review process. So we're good to go to run on our 10-year plan. I just bring up the land and water plan because our number 1 goal in that plan was to protect our surface waters in the state, in particular Atlantic County. Our number 1 activity under that goal was to protect our shorelands. So my role as county conservationist is to be here and to deliver that plan to Oneida County. In other words, to protect our lakes and shorelands. Last year, when state legislation was proposed and started to come out about regulating enhanced wakes, it fell short of what current research showed and said was needed. The proposed legislation had mentioned 200 feet from shore. They did not mention any depth requirement, and there was no mention of aquatic invasive species. The Michigan DNR, Western Colorado University, the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation, which actually enacted law into law, and most importantly, and I say this because it's our neighboring state of Minnesota, and the research came out of what they call their Fluid Dynamics Research Lab, which is engineering, all recommend that boats creating enhanced wakes should be a minimum of 500 feet from shore. In fact, as you've heard from others, there's new research starting to come out that is suggesting a minimum of 600 to 700 feet from shore and 30 foot of depth. My department recommended to our conservation committee 500 feet from shore and 20-foot minimum depth as reasonable in balancing the right of everyone to recreate on state waters, but yet protecting the quality of our waters in Oneida County. We thought it was a compromise coming in at 520 feet, but yet also being protective enough. And therefore, that is the resolution in front of the supervisors.
Any questions for Michelle? Go ahead, Chris.
So I have 2, and this is for clarification. If you could define enhanced wake, so like roughly how big of a wake are you referring to?
Typically, what they're looking at when they're saying enhanced is 2 to 3 times the size of a normal wake out there. I don't have a specific number, but when, I know that is being looked at in legislature as well, like what exactly is enhanced wake? What is an excessive wake? I don't have that exact definition, and I know the state was looking at it, into it as well.
And then the second one is that this gets passed and gets passed at the state level. How many of our waterways are now no longer qualified for waking, pretty much, from a percentage of our waterways in our county?
I don't have that number, depending on what really gets regulated at state issue, when it comes through state. I don't have that particular number.
hypothetically, if they just copy and paste our resolution, what would it be roughly, do you think? It doesn't have to be exact, I mean.
Yeah, I don't know that number, honestly. A lot of our lakes are not that deep, and that's where the biggest concern is with enhanced wakes, is that there's a lot of damage to the shore bottom, the lake shore bottom. And, so that depth requirement is very important.
Have you done any research, has anyone done any research on property values? How this may reassess and change the value of our county?
In the past, there has been a lot of research done on water quality, connecting to property values. As to specifically wake boats, I have not seen that, but I have seen water quality studies showing the decreased valuation for properties with a decline in water quality. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Michelle?
Yes.
Thank you for all the work you've been doing and the people that have been working with you. It's certainly been a issue lately that's being bantered back and forth. I love what you're saying. I get concerned in the motion that we're identifying numbers. Now, listen, I'm a politician. I don't know the facts. You're telling me these are the facts. I believe you, but I believe when it goes to legislatures, they'll bring in their resources and digest. And I'd love to leave it open to them to, hey, you guys determine what it is. But that being said, I like the philosophy of trying to protect our waters. I think everyone shares that goal. How we do it is where we differentiate. And I like that you're trying to address the invasive species as well. But you said when you put your plan together, the second point was shoreland, protecting the shoreland. And while we're doing this, wouldn't it be a good time to ask the legislators to give property owners more tools to work with to protect their shorelands? For example, incorporated areas like the city of Madison, they can put seawalls up. So why can they put a seawall up and we can't protect our shorelands here with a seawall or retaining wall? It doesn't seem right. The intent is to protect the lakes, protect the shorelands. I'd like to see us ask not only for the invasive species to be addressed and the lake, the enhanced wakes or excessive wakes, but to give property owners some tools as well. I think they all should be incorporated.
Yeah, I do, excuse me, Billy. I do know, a lot of property owners, we do field a lot of calls in office asking about rock riprap. Not necessarily seawalls, because yes, that is a little bit harder challenge, a harder hill to climb. And we are seeing lots more calls about rock riprap. And there are some benefits and some negatives to rock riprapping every footage of the lake as well.
Okay, any other questions from Michelle? Nobody, further discussion on a resolution?
Scott? Mike? Can you hear me? Scott?
Yep, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for Michelle. What exactly have we seen for this data, this facts that show what the enhanced wakes are doing to our lakes? I've heard a lot of people talk about how factual it is, and we really have to listen to the facts. The science is out there. What exactly are we getting for reports? Fish are dying, weeds are getting ripped up, and less oxygen in the lakes. You're stirring up the bottom. What facts are there for that and how it's affecting the ecosystem? Instead of just talk and say the science is real. I live on a lake. I got a lot of wake boat, big enhanced wakes there. And I've been there over 20 years and I don't see the fishing being affected. I don't see anything happening. And so I just want to know what exactly is happening, that you're getting all these facts and the science showing this is terrible and that we got to measure a certain size wake and it's got to be within 500 feet from shore because 300 is way too, the science will definitely show that that's a whole different story. Where is this science? I know that we have a lot of powerful people lobbying for this, and it seems like that's what those meetings are. So what science are you seeing, Michelle, at the county that people are saying, here's what's happening. We got bluegills floating around now. They're dead because of these enhanced wakes, or we're no longer seeing the rice paddies grow anymore since these boats have been on the lake. What exactly can you tell me as facts?
Mike, I think a lot of that research is coming yet. We're starting to see some of it. I did quickly look up and there is research on increased wake height, and intensity that even up to 2023, there are studies showing that shoreline erosion, increased shoreline erosion with the size of wake. So that's something that is there in research. And we're starting to see that research come out in more research. I think it's what I oftentimes see and feel too. It's like a great storm that we're starting to see. We're starting to see fish beds, walleye populations, and I don't think it's so easy to just dissect one particular reason out of a group of things. But there's certainly information and research in the past that shows increased wave height is causing shoreland erosion and pressure on the shoreline.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Discussion on the resolution, Tom?
So Michelle, I know I've asked in the past, have we seen any, and I know I've asked you, in the Monaco chain more specifically, are there any erosion studies in Oneida County?
Yes, I went digging. Well, not particularly Oneida County, but there are erosion studies, and there was multiple ones that I did find, as of the latest being 2023.
Okay. And, but none of that, I mean, what is the complaint? I mean, do you have complaints to the department with erosion that are, you know, that's, people are blaming wake boats on, or that?
I wouldn't say blaming wake boats, just what we hear quite a bit is just people coming in saying, we need to do something, we're losing footage of shoreline due to increased wake and recreational activity. So I'm not saying it's necessarily bad that they're coming in. Now, there is a lot of people that do say we have wake boats and we're seeing the biggest waves coming from wake boats. But their concern is that their shoreline is getting beat up and they're losing frontage.
Oh, go ahead. And then one other question is, a lot of these lakes may have wake boats on them already. People that bought these homes with the purpose of wakeboarding, surfing, tubing, whatever it may be. What happened, I mean, what do you believe would happen with those homeowners? What do you think the state would do with them? Do you think there'd be a grandfathering and allow them to continue to use those lakes? Well, I mean, you know, now we're getting into a pretty intense battle there as well. So curious as to what your thoughts might happen there.
I think that's up to the state legislature to decide. That's a tough one. I mean, they're not looking at saying this lake or that lake cannot be wake boat or enhanced wakes. They're just looking at the areas that are best suited to be enhanced wakes.
Thank you for everything done.
Any other discussion? Renee?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to everybody, and especially Michelle, for all the research you did. It's been a lot. And I want to take it out of the research category because we've always known that wakes cause shoreline damage. That's why there's no wake districts in lakes, you know, and they're marked. No wake through here because it's created erosion, it's created problems. And so whether it be the Lake Association or the Lake District, they've agreed that we're gonna have no wake districts so we can minimize the erosion. All motorboats create wake, all wake, regardless of size, is going to contribute to erosion. This is a new kettle of fish. We haven't seen this before. Besides erosion, we have waves the size that can push people off their docks and have. They're the size of waves that can swamp kayaks and have. So there's more things to consider. Number one is property values. You know, if I have, and I do have lake frontage, and it starts, somebody on the lake is coming too close to shore, whether it be a wake boat or any other kind of boat, and it's eroding my shoreline, I'm going to be concerned that my property values are going down. And I'm sure everybody out there wants to see the lakes as they are preserved. So as far as studies or whatever, if you watch wake boats go by and watch when they're in shallower water, how the silt comes up from the bottom, that causes algae blooms that can create problems down through the years to block our fishing, our not only our ability to fish, but the fish's ability to reproduce. We've always been concerned with invasives. This is just one more way that invasives can be perpetuated and spread. But the one thing that hasn't been brought up has been the property values decline. And we need to protect the shoreline so that we don't lose more of it for everybody's benefit, for the benefit of everybody recreating up here. Nobody's saying get the wake boats off the lake. We're saying let's all recreate together safely and continue into the future in a way that's safe for everybody.
Scott. Mike Timmons.
I just got one comment. We're talking about the shoreline and the wakes and the wake boats what's the difference between a big outboard motor and a wake boat when you take a person or two or three and put them in an inner tube and go get it? Water skiing or in tubes. And that boat takes off in 10 feet of water, whatever, and disturbs it. What's the difference between that and a wake boat? That's only a hypothetical question to everybody involved. We're talking about wakes. We're talking about disturbing the bottoms. If we're gonna do it for one, do we do it for all? Just a comment to think about it. We're picking on one specific boat here. Again, but you can water ski, tube and everything else. And we're calling out one item not wrong.
Any other discussion?
On the resolution?
For Michelle or on the resolution?
Any discussion or question for Michelle? Go ahead, Rob.
This is on the resolution. I think it's important to look at lines 35 through 39 and 41 and 42. That we are recommending that the state legislature engage in meaningful discussion. We're making a recommendation to them. They are going to have those discussions. We're saying 520. They're the ones that are, we're weighing in. I think what's important there is 41 and 42. And that is, we're asking that local governments deserve local control to set their own standards beyond the state members. So I don't see why, we vote yes, we move it on, it goes to the state legislature, which is interesting because they're all gonna get for election in November. And they're not gonna take anything up until, I believe, January of 2025. And I don't know what turnover would be. So I think we can get hung up on the 500 and the 20 and we can talk and talk and talk and talk. The bottom line is we're making a recommendation for the legislator to consider this. And then at their hearings, they're gonna hear all of this again. And I think what's important there is they may set it at whatever, but if they agree with 41 and 42, it's a win-win. We can talk all day about research. I live on the east side of Crescent Lake. Southwest wind, when the ice goes out, that's where the erosion happens. And we got a heave on front of our property that is probably anywhere from a foot to 2 feet high. I leave it alone, it's a great thing, water runs in, doesn't go into the lake, it goes into the mitigation zone. So we can debate that forever. So I say we not worry about 520 and move on with the resolution, send it on to the state for their consideration in these dialogues. And we, again, as individuals, can all send our legislators our opinion to encourage them 500, 200, 700, whatever.
Any other discussion? Michelle, go ahead.
Chair, I would like to just respond to Mike, Timmons. We in the resolution did not specifically call out wake boats. We used that language on line 20. We used that specific language because that is how the state had proposed their legislation, that particular bill. We went toward a hands in excess of wakes. So we were not looking at, and we're not calling out a particular type of boat.
Line 27.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes, line 27. And if
Michelle?
there was any reference to wake surfing or wakeboarding, it was to connect it to the proposed legislation at state level.
Stephen, you got the floor.
So, Michelle, then if I understand correctly, you're not asking for a specific type of watercraft to be regulated. You're asking for an activity to be regulated, which is wakeboarding and wake surfing.
Tubing.
Enhanced.
Let's just focus on the words that are in the resolution. There's no tubing.
Right.
That's what we're asking for legislators to regulate is activity, not specific watercraft.
We're not looking at watercraft, and we used
Okay.
the language we did in 20 because that was state language.
Well, and it speaks to the concern that Mr. Timmons brought up, which is wake boats alone are not the only craft that have the potential to create
Correct.
wake, significant wake. That being said, to echo what Supervisor Jensen touched on, which is, again, this is advisory. I'm guessing nobody sitting here is gonna be happy regardless of what number we send down to Madison. My personal opinion is Madison could care less what numbers we send them because they generally don't seem to care one way or the other about anything. If we've ever received a response from Madison to any resolution, I've never seen it, so I'm gonna take that as a confirmation of my opinion about them, but that being said, I think that for me, probably the biggest thing, the thing we could focus on the most is really the transportation of invasive species, because that seems, unless I'm wrong, more, how would you say, it's a characteristic of a specific craft. I don't know enough about watercrafts. Maybe Tommy could speak to this. But that ballast function, is that specific to wake boats? Or are there other watercrafts that also have the ability to hold that and then transport it inadvertently between bodies of water?
Jim. I can answer if you
Go ahead.
want. So, they do, wake boats, surf boats do have ballast. They're about the only boats that you do see having ballast. Now, the transferred invasive species, these boats are designed to pump all that water out because they get stored in cold weather. They would freeze up in their stored lines if they didn't drain that. Now, they do still inherently hold some water in them. All boats hold water inside of them.
Sure. Okay.
Any other discussion?
Scott, I got my hand up.
Oh, I didn't see it. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so just addressing Supervisor Schreier, I appreciate what he said, and I liked what he said, and of course, others have spoken about just passing this on down to Madison and letting them have, but the problem I have is it says standards of at least 500 feet. And I know there's people that think they're experts, and I just haven't heard enough for me to say at least 500 feet. Maybe it should be 1,000 because experts think we ought to not do this anymore. I agree that ski boats, a lot of ranger fishing boats, I've been on lakes long enough to know that at one time in the northern lake area here, we had people coming out with 30 horsepower motors, and that was going to end everything. It's going to ruin our lakes. And guess what? It didn't ruin our lakes and we're still fishing and catching a lot of fish. I think the boogeyman is in the crowd again. And so I will not put a yes to this, saying that I think it should be at least 500 feet when I don't see anybody showing me proof that 500 feet versus 300 feet. We all know that you have to be a certain distance from shore for ski boats. Boats can go right next to each other at 50 miles an hour. Most people don't know that. They say, oh no, that's crazy. No, they can, just like snowmobiles can. If somebody gets hurt, there would be a citation given. So the boogeyman again is out there saying we got to at least 500 feet. And I appreciate Michelle's work and trying to figure all this out. But I'm not convinced if you scratch those lines on 37 saying at least 500 feet, because I don't know if that's true at all. And from all the evidence I've heard, I haven't heard that's true at all. And yes, all boats have weeds on them when they come out of weedy lakes. And what are we asking for? More regulation? So what's next? What are they going to go after next? Like I said, I lived on a lake for a long time and I have a lot of these boats on there. The fishing's been outstanding. The erosion from storms and Mother Nature is a heck of a lot worse than this. And like one supervisor said, the ice shoves. So unless we scratch that saying at least 500 feet, I can't vote yes on this.
Other discussion? Greg, do you?
Yes, I think we are too little early on this. We got some data to come in on how this really damages a lake. I don't want to send the wrong message to that we're just okay with whatever they want to do. I think we should think about it.
Other discussions? I guess I'll make a comment right now. I go on the Three Lakes chain and boat with a pontoon boat, and I've seen wake boats out in the middle, and yes, if you go out by that wake boat, the wakes are strong. I see it coming into the shore, but I wonder, when I lived on the lake and the waves would come in off the shore, but when the wind would blow and you'd get white caps, I don't picture the wake boats making a big wake out in the lake and it's white caps when it hits the shore. So, and I agree with Mike Timmons on his scenario. If you ever watch the ski boat take off and pull some people, the front end comes up in the air and it's going down. So I'm not sure if, the scientific study is all there, if we just pick one part of it. But the audience can say we're just politicians, but we do make the decision on what's gonna happen based on what we're told in our experiences. So that's my comment. Jim?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. This debate went around in our committee as well. One of the things that I had an opportunity to look at, and I wish I would have had the video along, put it up on big screen, let everybody see it, was a video, and I believe it came out of Minnesota, but don't hold me to that, of it underwater with a camera, and it was in shallower water, under 20 feet, is approximately 115 feet, showing the V shape. And I'm thinking to myself, I love to fish. And I see that going across the fish bed. And what happens in creating the sediment being pulled, sucked up, and the disturbance on depth, in the depth, really, I really wonder about that. And it really was eye-opening for me to see that, to think, okay, we need to really be focusing on depth. We can all bicker back and forth about whether it should be 500 feet, 700 feet, 600 feet, or 2 feet. But depth is what I think is the most important. And, I think we need to send a message down to Madison that we do not want our lakes screwed with, and they will set. I don't have a lot of confidence in Madison in some of their legislative process. Well, we saw that with what came out and then during the hearing sessions. So maybe we should strike the 500 feet, but go with the 200, the 20 feet in depth as a minimum.
Okay, Tommy first.
Jim, I agree with you on Madison and people from Madison not listening to what we say up here. I agree the 20-foot depth is very, very important, and I do not want that removed. I think we should, I agree with you on your statement.
Billy?
I'd like to offer an amendment. And I'm certainly open to, change. On line 37, after the words standards, on line 37, strike after standards and put the following. So it would read, I'm going from line 36. Discussions to set standards to address enhanced / excessive wakes to ensure safety of our waters and protect our shorelines. Period.
What's being eliminated?
The 500 feet from the shore and the 20-foot depth, I'm open to putting that in there.
To clarify, are you saying that on line 37, after standards, you strike the remainder of line 37, 38, and 39 and replace it with what you said?
Yes, but I would like to get that 20-foot depth in there. So it would read, as I said, to set standards to address enhanced / excessive wakes and incorporate a minimum requirement of 20 feet in depth.
That's what I would do.
Any waters in 20-foot or shallower?
The clerk's gonna read it back to you and you're gonna tell her if she's got it, right?
Sure.
Easy, eliminate.
Yep, so on line 37, after the word standards, strike of at least 500 feet from the shore and to prohibit enhanced excessive weight creation in waters, well,
I haven't, okay.
yeah, so to
I would-
strike of at least 500 feet from shore and to state to address enhanced excessive weight
Weights.
to ensure safety of our waters and protect our shorelines.
Yes, but I would like to reword it if possible.
Sure.
Okay, I think this will make more sense. I apologize. Trying to do this on the fly. So on line 37, after standards, it would say, to address enhanced excessive wakes, to read to, meaningful discussions, to set standards, to address enhanced / excessive wakes.
Why don't you just take out the second half?
And create, I wanna get that 20-foot depth in there.
Okay.
Yeah, it would, so ending at, address excessive / enhanced / excessive wakes in water shallower than at least 20 feet in depth. To ensure safety of our waters and protect our shorelines. So I'm striking of at least 500 feet from the shore up until it gets to on the start of line 38. You follow that kind of?
Yep. And you deleted all the way to the end of line 39, correct? So you struck everything after standards to include what you stated all the way to the end of 39.
Well, I pinched in the middle of it all that water is shallower than at least 20
Yep,
feet.
but that's in your, so
Okay.
here's how I'm gonna
Got
read it.
Please.
So on line 37, strike everything after the word standards through line 39. And instead include standards to address enhanced excessive wakes in water shallower than at least 20 feet in depth to ensure the safety of our waters and protect our shorelines.
Is that correct?
That does it.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Greg Ottinger seconded. Discussion on the motion.
I got one.
Any amendment?
Yeah.
Who's got it? Rob, go ahead.
But when I read that, we're not letting our legislators know what they should consider in terms of feet from shore. It's not there. The amendment isn't saying they should consider the enhanced or excessive weight X number of feet from shore as well as a 20-foot depth. But I don't know if you want to somehow, I don't see where you're getting the distance from shore in your amendment. Maybe I'm missing something.
I think what Billy's trying to say is if it's 20 feet from shore, I mean, if it's 20 feet deep, it's allowed, but I can see your point about being too close to the.
Yeah, but I could be 100 feet from my shoreline, and I can be in 25 feet of water, and that's okay.
I'm trying to get to a resolution we can also do. I'm trying not to label, trying not to label numbers that might need more discussion. And it does show, it will be a show of support for our protection of our lakes. So I am open to changing the wording around.
Stephen, well, Billy, you hit the nail on the head. We're probably not gonna agree on the language that we want to send. I'm a little bit disappointed that we went to the trouble of amending it last time. We couldn't agree on what we wanted. We sent it back to committee. You guys all agreed at committee what you wanted to propose to us, and now none of us are remotely interested in what you brought back. As far as I'm concerned, send it back to committee and let them do their homework again. You guys didn't do your job, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't wanna vote on it. I wanna send it back to committee.
Did you ever hear of the term picking the line out of the pepper?
No.
And well, I won't finish my statement. We have beat this.
Let's back on the amendment here.
We beat this horse to death. And I'm not for sending it back to the committee. They worked their butts off to get it to this point. If we can't send a simple recommendation to Madison, then it's probably gonna end up in a garbage can. We might as well just adjourn.
All right, discussion on the amendment. Jim.
Supervisor Freed, while I appreciate what you're trying to do there, I still think there has to be a minimum footage. Would it be, could you live with like 300 feet, you know? We need to send something to the legislature.
We're on the amendment.
Yeah, okay, let's stick, right now, the motion on the floor is to eliminate all that and just stick with the 20 feet. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? We can vote it down and make another amendment if you're not happy with this one. Do this all day long. Any further discussion on the amendment? Clerk will call a roll.
Do they need to hear it again, or are we're all clear?
Why don't you read it one more time, so everybody understands?
Motion by Freed to strike all language on lines 37, 38, and 39 after the word standard. And include to address enhanced excessive wakes in water shallower than at least 20 feet in depth to ensure safety of our waters and protect our shorelines.
Okay, clerk will call a roll. On the amendment.
Condado? No. Sorgel?
No.
Roach?
No.
Almakinder? No. Newman?
No.
Winkler?
No.
Harris? Fisher,
No.
Jensen,
No.
Schultz,
No.
Reed,
Aye.
Hammond,
Left than him.
Simmons,
Sorry, no.
Ottinger,
No.
Briggs,
No.
Ryden,
All back to the aye.
Dryer,
No.
Cushing,
No,
Kowinski,
No.
two ayes, 16 no, 3 absent.
2 ayes, 16 no, 3 absent, the amendment fails. Further discussion on the resolution? Anybody?
call the roll.
All right, clerk will call the roll.
Timmons,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Harris,
No.
Newman,
Aye.
Condado,
Aye.
Briggs,
No.
Jensen,
Aye.
Winkler,
Aye.
Ryden,
No.
Fisher,
Aye.
Roach,
No.
Sorgel,
Aye.
Almakinder,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Ottinger,
No.
Enos,
Aye.
Kowinski,
No.
Thirteen ayes, 6 no, 2 absent.
13 ayes, 6 no, 2 absent, resolution 12, 2024 passes. Resolution 38, 2024, offered by the supervisor of the Forestry, Land and Recreation Committee to submit opposition letter to the U.S. Forest Service regarding the proposed planning process to change land management plan, i.e. old growth. That would be Bob Almakinder, but before we get into that, me being the county board chair, when I get information sent to me, I send it out to the committees. I never send it with a, do this or do that to it. Whether it's the ARDC, if it's the health department, the information I get, I submit to the committees to review and bring to the county board. So, and as far as bringing up from the audience about Pelican River, it's never even dawned on me. I just forward to committee of jurisdiction information for them to review. With that, Bob, go ahead.
I'll ask that all come forward.
All right, I was given this, the original letter, the one in the packet that has the strikeouts, through my committee chair, Mr. Almakinder. And in reviewing that letter, looking at the 2020 or the 2012 planning rules of the Forest Service, I spent hours trying to make head or tails of some of the assertions in that letter. I cannot, confirm nor deny a lot of what's in that letter. That's why I made an abridged version that I feel gets the point across that if it's the will of the county board, that the county, the towns should all be involved in the process when this new rule is developed. And to my knowledge, no wording has been released saying what this new rule is even gonna contain. So I don't believe this resolution is saying we're in, or it's my opinion that this resolution is not in opposition to the rule itself, because we don't know what it is. It's hard to oppose something when you don't know what it is. I believe this is more so the process of involving the local governmental units and considering changes on a property by property basis. And again, I invited a U.S. Forest Service representative to the meeting today. He said this is being done through Washington. He has nothing to add. So he declined the offer to come in and answer questions. So, you know, the first part being
local involvement. And how that's going to be handled, I don't know, because in going through their planning documents, I can't find any specific list of things the Forest Service has to do to involve the government. Is it just putting out a public notice that this is being done? Does that satisfy their collaboration with the local units of government? I don't know, because these, obviously, I'm sure you've all read federally produced documents. They're purposely written so you can't understand what they're saying. And then the second part that I mentioned is on a property by property basis. I'm still not 100% sure that they're doing this NEPA study and the environmental impact study to cover all properties, but then once that's covered, then each individual property, it is possible that they may be considering these changes on their own property. Not somebody from Washington saying, here's the new blanket policy that you're all gonna follow. So we're, I was unable to find an answer to either one of those questions as to, what the process is for involvement and whether or not for sure this is gonna be a single document that's gonna cover all 128 properties, or is each property going to consider these on their own?
Questions for Paul?
Yes.
Is there a time, is there a timeliness to passing this resolution?
Well, actually, I received it after, I may have received it like the day before the initial public comment period was over. The gentleman that I contacted by email to participate in today's meeting, he said, the environmental impact statement are expected in May of 2024, and that this will be accompanied by a 90-day comment period. So it is anticipated that there will be another public comment period that opens up in May.
Go ahead.
I don't think I have ever devoted as much time to trying to understand a resolution as I have to this one. I purposely go to committees of jurisdiction so I can get the heads up on something before it comes to the board, because it's too much to absorb and decide on. So I went to that forestry meeting and I listened to the discussion, and then I got the resolution, and I admire you for cutting it down to its bare principles, but I spent a whole day on it and I still don't think I understand it.
I spent many days on it.
And so I'm wondering if we have to, is this something we can send back to committee until we get more information? I don't get it. I don't wanna make you more work, but is it something we can send back to committee to get more information?
I don't know at what point more information will be available. I guess I can do some more research and, see, because again, I contacted our local contact for the Forest Service. And I don't know if he's gonna say, I can't answer questions when it's being done on a Washington DC level. And, whether or not I will be able to get any answers from anybody further on the chain.
Steven?
Well, I can't help but juxtapose this with what we just passed. If we reach out to all the towns and ask them, what's your opinion on this resolution regarding weight? And to my knowledge, I don't think we bothered to do that. Yet, aside from Rhinelander, which is probably the least impacted, and I live on the river, they can go ahead and try and wake vote on it, but I don't think they'd be successful. But that being said, a part of me just says, we're just asking now for a federal agency to adopt a relationship with the locals that we ourselves don't bother to adopt. So we didn't bother to reach out to anyone at the local level about the wake. It's just, well, if you happen to be paying attention to what we're doing, feel free to drop us a line or stop in, and some people bothered to do that today. Whether or not most of them are related to their local governments, I don't know. But that being said, again, I also read through this didn't understand really the purpose other than we want more cooperation and we would like a direct voice on things. I don't have a problem with that. I always think that's a good idea. Then I think about the extent of what it is that we're talking about. If we're talking about 128 national properties, and how do you develop a plan for every single one independently, working with whatever it is we feel is the most fundamental things that need to be reconciled with whatever that plan is that they're proposing adopting. I struggle with wanting to question something when they haven't even really released a plan or haven't even given any indication on what that is. So I'm guessing that when the plan is released, they also then have a period in which you can question, respond, public comment, a hearing, et cetera, which may be the more appropriate time then for us to address whatever it is in the plan that we object to. But objecting to something when you don't yet know what it is seems a little premature, if not foolhardy.
And just for clarification, all 128 Forest Service properties have their own property management plan. So there's not one current plan that is a blanket overall. Everybody, you know, the Schwamigan Nicolay has their own, the Superior National Forest, they all have their own. And I think that's one of the intents of this, is that each one of those people make the amendment to their own plan to reflect the local conditions.
Rob, you had your hand up.
I think lines 20 through 30 are really what we're looking at here. We're just encouraging them as they develop their plan to keep into consideration that the county would like a say.
Yes.
And that's the way I read this. You know, I agree that sometimes maybe it's better after the plan comes out, but then again, oftentimes, once the plan's out, is that they sometimes are not likely to make amendments to the plan. So I mean, I support this. We're telling them we want county control, and hopefully when they develop the plan, they'll keep that in mind.
Any further discussion? Jim Winkler.
Yeah, I just want to go back to Paul's comment. You sent us that big document that I tried to read through too. I have a degree, and one of my degrees is in forestry, forest management, and I couldn't understand it. But that was back in the 70s, 50 years ago. This is all about old growth, but the statement is about old growth, correct? So they're trying to put some sort of a spin on what we want to do with old growth forests.
I don't know what, all I know is the topic of the plan amendment is old growth. Whether, you know, they're gonna say, let's strike out, get rid of all old growth, or are they gonna say, let's go from X% old growth to, you know, X plus X% old growth. Until we see their proposal, I don't even wanna venture a guess as to what they're going to recommend.
My experience back when I was in forestry school back in the late 60s and early 70s, the federal government back at that time was broken, in my opinion. And it just seems like they're, even though, and Paul is correct, every forest site has its own management plan. But they're putting a blanket statement over everything, it sounds like to me, as coming from a federal level, DC.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Chris?
Pretty much it looks like we're just asking for them to be transparent and to keep us involved in the communication. So with that, I'd like to make the motion that we adopt resolution.
You don't have to.
Call the question.
Okay, well, there are the two letters that are attached to the resolution. The intent of the committee was, I believe, I don't want to put words in their mouth, was to have the county board decide which, if either of those letters they wanted to attach to this resolution, if one of was passed. Because like I say, I can get a clean version of the one that's has all the strikeouts and get rid of those strikeouts. Or, you can use the original. Or or neither.
Stephen.
Well, frankly, I would rather not attach a letter at all. I don't entirely understand the origin of the letter. I don't know what the letter does that the resolution doesn't do.
That's how I tried to.
Frankly, the letter confuses the whole thing. Do you feel there's a need to attach this letter to this resolution? I don't know that we need to explain to the National Forest Service their inadequacies or whatever it is. I'm sure they hear it all the time. So personally, I would just as soon send the resolution and not attach the letter. And I would like, if that requires amending what's before us, because it doesn't say, does it say anywhere in the resolution, does it reference the letter? Does it?
I'll second that amendment.
I just want
On
clarification.
line 37, it states, therefore be it resolved that the United County Board of Supervisors hereby submits the attached letter of opposition to any changes to property plans within its boundaries.
Then I'm gonna make the motion to strike lines 37 through 40.
Second. We have a motion and a second to strike lines 37 through 40. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
It's the letter.
No. In other words, you're not gonna attach a letter to the resolution.
Then I don't know if this is just a nitpicky thing, but then on 42, do you have to get rid of, be it further resolved? Not.
Yeah, then it would just be
that.
therefore.
Yeah. 37 through 40.
Thank you, I guess, if necessary.
Wait, you want to-
There. This one should also be.
No, just the word further in line 42.
Yeah.
Or do you- that will now be our, or would be the first resolution involved.
Therefore, be it.
If permissible, I would add additionally striking the word further in line 42.
I'll second that.
I think Chris already seconded.
Yeah, I have no issue.
You're,
I think you'll need to do it. Second.
Yeah.
Okay, if this passes, then someone can make the motion to strike further from line 42.
All right, so we had a motion and a second. We can approve that and then add a second amendment according to Corporation Council. So we're on the first amendment to eliminate line 37 through 40. Is there any further discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Jensen,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Roach,
I,
Fisher,
Aye.
Hannah,
Aye.
Bryden,
Aye.
Ottinger,
Aye.
Condado, Briggs,
Aye.
Winkler,
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Almakinder,
Aye.
Sorgel, Timmons,
Aye.
Cushing, Schultz,
Aye.
Harris, Kalowinski,
Aye.
19 aye, 2 absent.
19 aye, 2 absent. The resolution 38 is amended. Is there any more amendments?
Make a motion to amend the amended to strike on line 42, the word further.
I'll
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the second amendment? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Reed,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Hannah,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Almakinder,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Winkler,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Ottinger,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Roach,
I,
Timmons,
Aye.
Ryden,
Aye.
Condado, Schreier,
Aye.
Sorgel,
Aye.
Harris, Kalowinski,
Aye.
19 aye, 2 absent.
19 aye, 2 absent. Resolution 38 is amended twice. Any further discussion on the resolution? Clerk will call the roll.
Condado, Newman,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Timmons,
Aye.
Winkler,
Aye.
Harris, Ottinger,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Almakinder,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Ryden,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Roach,
Aye.
Dorval,
Aye.
Hannah,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Howlinski,
Aye.
19 I, 2 absent.
19 I, 2 absent, resolution 38 as amended passes.
Okay, Tracy, I do have a contact to send that resolution to the person I contacted will be in here. He told me who to send it to, so I'll forward that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution 39, 2024, offered by the supervisors of the administration committee to authorize 2023 budget transfers. Billy?
Tina was not able to be here, and if there is if there are questions that need to be answered, we can table this. Was brought to the administration committee. This is the closing of the year 2023, where we do transfers. A lot of you at your committees probably saw transfers during the year or in conclusion. That's about all I have to offer on that. If you have specific questions, I may be able to answer them. Otherwise, we can table it.
I believe most of the transfers, if you read down below, line 31 down, explains each one of the transfers. Yep. Are explained in there, so. Any questions? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Hannah,
Aye.
Lindblad,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Simmons,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Ottinger,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Canado. Aye. Dorval,
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Roach,
Aye.
Ryden,
Aye.
Harris. Aye. Almakinder,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Howlinski,
Aye.
19 I, 2 absent.
19 I, 2 absent, resolution 39, 2024 passes. Resolution 40, 2024, offered by the supervisors and administration committee to establish compensation for Nider County clerk, register of deeds, and treasurer, 2025 to 2028. Bill?
This is offered by LRS.
It was offered by LRS.
Oh, it was offered by all.
But I do have comments.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I guess we had it wrong on the agenda. That's on reading the agenda, but the actual resolution says offered by the Labor Relations Employees Service Committee, that would be Ted Cushing.
That's, this is the time of the year that we have to look at these wages and basically, we came to the conclusion that these folks, were basically passed over. Lisa, do you want to come up? When all the rest of the county got 6% or 5% or whatever, these people don't qualify for that. So this is the attempt to get them back on a schedule that will keep pace with the rest of the county employees.
That's correct. So the proposal was that they wanted to catch up from all of the increases that all of the other county employees had gotten. So you want to remember the last few years have been very good to Oneida County employees and the wage increases. 7.17% increase, 6.26% increase, the change from 1950 to 2080, 6.25% increase. So there were a lot of things that happened in general to the county employees, and that's what the elected officials were looking at. And in placing them with the new grade level in the pay plan keeps us from having to really scratch our heads and keep them up. They'll be able to keep up with the schedule as we go along. For those of you who weren't here, we did something very similar with the sheriff when we set the sheriff's wages. The resolution for the sheriff is tied to a percentage over step 14 of chief deputy position. So we've done this before, our council said we can do this, and that's where we are.
Any questions for Lisa? Stephen?
Well, I'm curious why we just didn't adopt that same strategy then, just say, let's use this and then a percentage, like we did with the sheriff. Wouldn't that have been the easiest thing to do?
That's what this does, I believe, right? Lisa, that's
Well-
what this does, right?
It really, it doesn't tie to percentage like we did with the sheriff. The sheriff we tied to the chief deputy's position.
Right.
If you look at these elected officials and their chief deputies, the wages aren't close enough to make that kind of an argument. So the argument was made based on what they felt they missed out on. And then to look at the current wage scale, as to other department heads and where they would fit in that schedule.
So grade level 0 or O,
Oh,
and that particular step starting in 25 is comparable to most other department heads? Is that what that means?
it was decided that that's the grade level they should be placed in. And what we did was we looked at the increases they felt they were missed out on, and we took that number and then looked at grade level O and placed them in at the next highest step, which is something we do often when we move someone from one step to another, is slide them in at the next closest step. And then they'll proceed from there with any cost of living increases, or step increases that are listed here.
Okay, and just so, I guess for my clarification and understanding, this will only be in effect from that period addressed in the resolution, so it's from 25 to 28. Anything that goes beyond that time period would have to be addressed separate from this. So it's a very finite, in many respects, resolution when you think about it. But this is no different than our adjustments for these particular electeds that we've done in the past, whereas they came to us, as I recall, 4+ years ago and said, we need an adjustment. And when you look back at what that was, it was quite small compared to what everybody else got during the same period of time. I think it was less than 2%, maybe 2.5% on average over those 4 years, whereas was just pointed out, nearly everyone else got 6-7%. So you fell behind every single year as we progress.
And just to clarify, not only the 6 or 7%, but every 2 years, another 2.5 on top of that. So 4 year, it was
Right.
5% on top of the cost of living, which the elected doesn't get. So,
Did that read this?
sure, Lynn.
Sure.
So just to clarify percentage wise, so as electeds, 4 years ago when we had to negotiate the same resolution, it was approved that over the course of those 4 years, we would get 12% in raises. Other department heads and employees, not even department heads, with the step increases over the last 4 years have received 33.77% in raises. So it's a significant difference from what as electeds was approved. We statutorily can only come to the county board once every 4 years, so we do not get we have not in the past gotten the cost of living increase that the employees receive, every year that is approved by the county board because we can only come once every 4 years. This resolution, by putting us in the wage schedule, would eliminate this massive guessing game over 4 years and the difference that has occurred and would keep us with employees.
Also, they, keep in mind, they do not get PPO.
And if the cost of living goes the opposite way, they know that we're gonna do.
Well, and let's be honest, unlike the majority of the people that work for the county, if for whatever reason the public is not happy with them, they can give that particular increase or salary to someone else. So that also needs to be taken into consideration. We have very few employees of the county that have to come to us to go through this particular hurdle. And this makes, at least in my opinion, it makes it a little bit less painful and also sets a precedent, hopefully going into the future as well. So we're always keeping that in mind and trying to be comparable when we're doing these things.
We were setting a wage scale for these elected positions, not the people that are serving them. Anybody can run, and if they're popular, they can win. Any further discussion, Billy?
I have a different perspective, and it's not about the people. I think the people in the position we all agree on are probably exceeding what we expect from them. These are elected positions, and I feel like we're grooving it to be just like an employee. An elected official has a lot of leeway in their discretion on how they want to do their job. We've been fortunate to have people that have been very professional and probably exceeded what was expected of them. But it's still an elected position. I'd prefer to see us lock in a salary, carry that salary for the term of their election, and then relook at it in 4 years. That's how it used to be. I remember when I first got on the county board and the courts person came and we had to update it, and that was the salary for the 4 years. The other thing that's important to remember is for employees, if I'm ahead of the department, I work my way up in steps and then I retire, usually someone comes in under at a lower rate of pay. So I get the argument of getting this and having increases and all that, but I'd much prefer seeing us lock in a salary for the term of the elected position. I think it's getting too much like their employee, yet they have the freedoms of an elected position. Also in this cost fiscal impact, it does not have the health insurance in there, and that continues to rise as a cost. And as I look at where these salaries go to, recently administration's been looking at coordinator and administrator positions around the state. You're getting to a point where you're exceeding many of those positions in other counties. So I just wanted to give you that perspective.
Any other discussion on the resolution? Anybody? Clerk will call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Harris. Aye. Condado. Aye. Fisher,
Aye.
Tanis,
Hey,
Jensen,
Aye.
Zorgo,
Nay.
Schultz,
Aye.
Roach,
No.
Olmekender,
Aye.
Simmons,
Aye.
Ryden,
Aye.
Briggs,
aye,
Reed,
nay,
Winkler,
Aye.
Ottinger,
Aye.
Halowinski,
Aye.
aye, 4 nay, 2 absent.
It was 16.
15.
16.
15 aye, 4 noes, 2 absent.
Okay, 59, 4 no, 2 absent, resolution 40 passes. Resolution 41, 2024, offered by the supervisors of the Social Service and Public Safety Committee, authorized implementation planning for the reorganization of the Department of Community Programs and Social Services in a consolidated Department of Human Services effective January 1st, 2025. Jim? Social Service or Public Safety? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mary. Mary, are you here?
Yeah,
there you are.
Still
Thank
here.
you.
Still
Yeah,
morning.
thank you.
Good morning again, everyone. So the resolution before you today is really a result of many years of discussion and study regarding how human services should be structured in Oneida. Mr. Cork's feasibility study is one of the many similar studies that have been conducted over the years. As I indicated in my memo to you, the Department of Social Services supports the recommendation in the feasibility study to create a Department of Human Services in Oneida County. This recommendation should not come as much of a surprise as nearly 90% of the counties in Wisconsin are organized in this way. Counties have continued to move in the direction of a combined Department of Community Programs, which is provided by the Human Service Center for Oneida, Vilas, and Forest, and the Department of Social Services for decades. And as recently as 2024, when Fond du Lac County combined their separate DSS and DCP departments to create the Department of Human Services in Fond du Lac County. To date, no county has transitioned from this structure back to their prior structure. Moving to a human service structure has many benefits. It allows for a clearer understanding of the structure by board members, staff, stakeholders, and clients. Each county has autonomy to determine the level of service in their communities. There should be a reduction and hopefully an elimination of the us versus them mentality and the not my problem issue that can plague a multi-department structure. Combining planning and allows us to combine planning and prioritization of critical services. It maximizes the available state and federal funds to reduce the use of tax levy through human services. We would have one combined budget, which eliminates the who is paying issue. It would increase the coordination of services to families. It would improve the coordination and cooperation with other county departments, and issues are brought to the same governing body. In order to protect client services moving through this transition, the recommendation includes Oneida County absorbing the staff at the Human Service Center and maintaining their current location in 2025. Vilas and Forest County would contract with Oneida for the services they are currently receiving. Though adding an additional 50+ employees to the Oneida County may seem daunting, these are positions that Oneida, Vilas, and Forest County have been paying for decades. Bringing these staff into the county system eliminates the differences in salary and benefits between very similar county positions. Proceeding this way gives the 3 counties time to determine what services will be provided directly by each county and which services we will do together through contract. It is the intent of the 3 county social services directors to bring staff providing these services into their communities and integrating them within the county systems wherever possible. If you approve this change today, we will begin putting together our new structure immediately. We would prioritize staffing and the integration of human service center staff into the county structure and would hope to make offers of employment as soon as possible so that staff at the Human Service Center know that they have employment past December 31st of 2024. We will incorporate the new budget into the 2025 budget process, and we would anticipate that we would be able to maintain the tax levy at the proposed 2024 rate unless there's major changes. Staff, as you know, are the most important part of any organization. This is a big change. It's a big change for all 4 organizations involved, and we may lose staff because of that. But in the end, I believe that the Department of Human Service Center is the best structure to serve our residents going into the future. And so I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Billy?
I'm always about the money. You got caught you at the end when you said expected to use the 2024 levy, which really was 0. What in contingency?
The one that's put in contingency.
Okay.
Yes.
I hope that we're still open at looking at efficiencies that might bring savings.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to be held to that number.
And that will take time. It's, like any change like this, we just need the time. And that's really, we're looking at that in our proposal. And that allows us to find efficiency, but do it without disrupting the services to our clients.
And I appreciate you addressing the employment as part of the piece of the puzzle here moving forward. We heard during public comment the concern for those that are in those positions. So it sounds like you get our support. You'll address those things as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I know our resolution says by September 30, there's that date in there. That's when we kind of want this all wrapped up. We've done the implementation planning. It's to the Department of Health Services, Department of Children and Family, and Department of Corrections, who needs to approve that at the state level. I don't anticipate any problems with that approval. That's when we want to have all that done so we can come to you. Here's our budget, here's our org chart, here's everything is done. But we want to be working on that staffing immediately and being able to, let those staff over there know that you've got a job past December 31st.
Any other questions for Mary? Any further discussion on the resolution, Jim?
I just wanna reiterate what Mary said. The reason for this change is to improve services to our clientele in the county and in the 3 counties. And that will happen.
I'm equally concerned about the staff being taken care of, but I haven't heard any measures on doing that. When I was first appointed to the Human Service Center Board, I did not know anything other than that they supplied mental health services to the community. But I learned a lot in the meantime, and from my experience in the private sector, I was very interested in how it was structured, because I looked at what the turnover rate was in employees and, the budget and, the usual numbers things. And they had a very good turnover rate. They had 4 open positions, and out of 48 positions, anything in the realm of 20% is manageable. It's like, people come on and they decide that the job isn't for them, and then they leave. Maybe on-call isn't what their cup of tea, so maybe it's harder than they thought it was gonna be, but there's reasons. People move, people get sick. There's reasons for those numbers. And their numbers were good. Their budget was good. I'm drawing a blank on the term right now. I'll go on. They had good, let's call it a tin can for any things that came up in the future, like people who had to go into hospitalization at $1,500 a day, and things like that were covered. Then this whole structure thing kind of exploded and people started leaving. Now, as numbers go, when things get above 25% turnover and they get into the 30% turnover, things start coming apart. And 15 people left because of the confusion. They didn't have answers to where they were gonna go, what it was gonna be like, if they were gonna have their benefits continued. So they're in 31% people leaving. And I'm afraid that that's gonna get worse before it gets better, because we don't have anything in place to keep them on. We did put a retention plan in place, which was taken down by the, what's that committee called? The one that oversees the board, so that.
Transition.
The
Transition oversight.
Transition oversight.
The oversight committee, yeah, so you're not gonna spend the money on retaining the employees. Let's take that money and keep that here. And so, okay, so 31% of the employees have vacated. Now, here's what that does to the Human Service Center. That's 77 years of combined experience. And yes, they're hiring new people, and all the new people they hired have a combined total of 0 experience, accruing day by day. So what are we gonna do to stop the flood of people that aren't getting the answers they need? That's my question to you and to all of us, because we all sit on this board. We all answer to the community and the clients out there that want to know, am I still going to have my staff person? Am I still going to get taken care of on a timely basis when we haven't been able to staunch the flow so far?
Just a comment, I would like to clarify what Lene said. The county board sent the transition committee to do what they did with that. It wasn't that committee decided that, this county board decided that. So you're wrong in that statement.
Excuse me.
Yeah, so what we would do if the county board approves this, Forest County's meeting tonight, I believe, and then Vilas County next week. And if the three county boards approve this, we would immediately begin, implementation planning and putting our plan together. The first thing, like I indicated, would be staffing. I will work with Lisa Charbonneau on where folks should be appropriately placed, in the, pay schedule for Oneida County. And look at, we have our corporation council looking at employee protection statute 4623, 3B, I think, or 3 something. And our corporations councils are looking at that to see how that affects, those folks as they come on board. I don't know how many other ways to say it, Linnea. We need those staff. We want those staff.
I agree.
To continue to do our services. And I know the rumor mill gets crazy, but I wish somebody would just stop and pay attention to what I'm saying. We need the staff, we will need them going forward, and we will work to get them incorporated into Oneida County's pay structure. That will go through the committees here that are in charge of that, and eventually back to this board, and that will be done way before September. This will be a process as we work through the year to get this done. And like I said, for me, that's priority number one. I don't think the Transition Oversight Committee feels any different about that. And we will continue to utilize Mr. Clark and his expertise to assist us as we have the funding to continue to work with them.
Anybody else? Comments, questions?
There's one.
Rob, go ahead.
All I can suggest is, I've had the opportunity to work with Mary as a county board supervisor for 7 years. And not to offend any other department heads, but I don't know if there's a person more organized and better qualified to address the issues that are coming forward. And, I very much support this resolution. And yeah, there's unknowns with everything. But I think, under her leadership in the transition committee, it will be done as best as it possibly can. And there will be some issues, but I think we're in good hands.
Any other comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Briggs,
Aye.
Harris. Aye. Zorgo,
Aye.
Benado. Aye. Ryden,
Aye.
Almakinder,
Aye.
Timmons,
Aye.
Winkler,
Aye.
Freed,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Roach,
Aye.
Ottinger,
Aye.
Hammett,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Newman,
I'll abstain.
Jensen,
Aye.
Kowinski,
Aye.
18 aye, 1 abstain, 2 absent.
18 aye, 1 abstain, and 2 absent. Resolution 41, 2024 passes. Resolution 42, 2024, offered by the Supervisor of Social Services and Public Safety Committee to amend the 2024 Joint County Human Service Agreement and County Transition Oversight Panel. Mary?
Yeah, this is just really a technical update. After you approved the amendment last month, we heard back from DHS who asked that we include the statute reference under letter G. So you'll see that that includes there's some there.
So the DHS asked that to letter G, the beginning of it say subject to WISSTAT 46.22 paren 1 paren M, and then it continued with what was in there before. So subject to WISSTAT 4622 1 AM is what DHS asked to be added, and that statute just references the organizational structure and how payments are made to county. So
Any questions? Any amendment? On the resolution? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Winkler,
Aye.
Freed,
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Harris. Aye. Fisher,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Sorrel,
Aye.
Roach,
Aye.
Canado. Aye. Oettinger.
Aye.
Bryden.
Aye.
Almakinder.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Cushing. Briggs.
Aye.
Timmons.
Aye.
Schreier.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Halowinski.
Aye.
19 ayes, 2 absent.
99, 42, 2021 passes. Item 9, the next meeting date will be April 16, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting.